Welcome to Candid Conversation with Permira, where we explore insights from industry leaders who shape great brands. My name is Sebastien Floch. I'm a managing director in the consumer team at Permira, and today we are joined by Lorenzo and Alessandro Boglione, who are the co-CEOs of BasicNet, the Italian group behind K-Way, Kappa, Superga, Sebago, Brigo, and other brands. We have recently partnered with BasicNet through a minority investment in K-Way, marking a major milestone for both BasicNet and K-Way journey. And today we will discuss your family's legacy in fashion and sportswear, your vision for the future of these heritage brands, what is so special about K-Way, and why both you and I are so excited about the brand potential, and how you and us think that the Permira partnership can also help unlock further value for the brand and in the long-term journey. Okay, so if we talk about the family's legacy, it will be quite interesting to hear from you because you've been growing up in this group from day one. What it was like to grow alongside your father within the BasicNet group, witnessing the rebirth of Kappa and the acquisition of K-Way, Superga, Sebago. What was basically your daily life from a young age in this group?
Well, the life of an entrepreneur like our father is very connected to the company. At a certain point, he also started living physically on the premises of the company. So, since the age of 10 or 12 years old, our life with our father was essentially related to the company. At the time, it was mostly related to Kappa because Superga and K-Way joined the group in 2005, 2006. So when we were kids, Kappa was the main thing, and honestly, it was a lot of fun because there was a lot of football, there was a lot of sports, and it was, of course, a lot of fun for us. So, but we always saw our father work very hard, dedicate his whole life to the company. So I think that got into us in a very early stage, and I think our commitment today is also thanks to that experience when we were kids.
We got this question quite often: how is to be alongside to our father? And I mean, apart from the fact that we really had a lot of fun. I mean, we don't have a comparison, so that was it. That is it. So it was maybe as today we are actually realizing what a privilege was to really be alongside, really close to such an industry leader as you called us. Thanks for that. And yeah, I mean, for sure the example and the method and the vision we got just staying and spending all this time with him was. At a certain point maybe given for granted, or maybe we weren't realizing which kind of impact that could have, and maybe today or maybe recently we started realizing what kind of a privilege it is.
I remember when we signed the contract, you showed us a room in your father's place, because your father's place is on the premises here, and you had a room where you were telling us that there was like a tatami mat, and that's where basically where your father was working, you were basically having your bedroom almost in his office. I mean, how did then you grow from witnessing those brands, playing with those brands? As you say, Kappa was very big at that time in football, and Juventus, the Turin, and others. Or then you gradually moved into teenager life and then young professional life, and what were your different roles then in the group, and how you started moving from being part of those brands as a family member to becoming an active manager within those brands, and what was basically your evolution?
I think it was quite natural. I think we were teenagers, and we were living the company life partially because of course we were going to school, and it was not our full life. We then moved on to university, and we did an international university. We traveled, we were living abroad, so we went on doing our life, I would say. But then when it was, when we finished university, we graduated. We both, I would say, very naturally decided to start working in the company. And we started from like everybody else. We started like everybody else with a specific job, and then I think we grew organically within the group, taking a little bit of responsibility on every day, until I would say more or less we have the full responsibility together of the group. But there was no I come in and I'm the CEO. It was pretty step by step.
Okay, going through the ranks. Yeah. And how do you? We discussed it already a few times, but you always say you don't divide the work; you work together. But would you say one of you is more maybe on the retail and marketing, one of you is more on the operations? Do you have certain affinities that make you complementary, and then of course you take decision together and you move together? But or would you say basically you create like almost a yin and a yang between you? Or
I think also that wasn't planned. We were maybe lucky and clever enough to both find our spaces. As we always share, we take all decisions, even the not only the biggest ones, but also the not so big and not so important ones, because we spend most of our day together with people, or partners, suppliers, and collaborators. But for sure, as today we have areas of competencies which are we know where I stand and where he stands, but I would say that where we are today was again not planned as our path into the company, was decided and made up day by day, and today I think the combination, as you said, we really complement each other, because I see that he has strength that I do not have, and maybe the same on the opposite side. So, and we get along very, very well, and we found a way to really split the work in a very constructive way.
And the numbers speak for themselves. It's been quite good duo, definitely.
Yeah, for sure numbers are in this candid conversation are important, but the way we were working was constructive also in difficult times. So of course at this stage we can say that things worked pretty well as far as today, but yeah, we are happy, besides the numbers that brands are providing, for the way that we were able to work not only between the two of us, but also finding a way to have the right balance with our father, which of course today is a little bit less part of the conversation on a daily basis, but still on specific topics and important matter on it.
Okay, maybe another question is, what are the lessons you learned from your father and on his vision about leadership, taking businesses which are struggling, revitalizing them? What are then the few key lessons you've been learning all the way through and you're still applying today when you think about developing a brand? Or
I don't think there's a recipe that we learned. I think that most of the brands were there already when we arrived, but I think that the most important lesson is to preserve the brands. Every time I saw him get involved in a brand, the first thing was the archive, the history, and going back in time. So when we buy a brand, we always found that who was running it and didn't do well at running it somehow had lost track of where the brand came from. So the idea is also on the specific products, on the specific items, to go back in time, check how the product was made 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and go back to the roots and get that product right. Once the iconic and original product is right, you look at the essence of the brand and try and be true to that essence, of course, making the brand contemporary. I think that is the key, to not give up the history and the legacy of the brand for short-term business. Sometimes they will ask for a lighter Superga. And yeah, maybe for a few years it's easier to sell a shoe that is a little bit lighter. But then it's not a Superga anymore. So at a certain point you will be in a position where your brand is not the brand you had. And if we buy a brand, it's because we believe there is a value in the history of the brand. Otherwise, it's easier to just start a new brand. So that's for sure, from a brand, let's say, point of view, the most important thing we learned. And from the other side, from the, let's say, work side, I think putting the company first is the biggest learning we had. Company is more important than anybody else, and we do everything we can to keep the company in the better possible shape for the longest possible time.
Yeah, and I would add that on the branding side, there's not a recipe. On the company side, again, maybe there's not a recipe, but a few lessons we got to learn. I think the two most important are maybe consistency. Really, we really saw how difficult it is to, even if you have a good idea, to build up a company or to really prove it to the whole world. So you really need to never give up if you are really committed and convinced of your idea. And then another aspect that for us that we really got it and into our approach as well is to how to treat people. So of course it's not related to how you revamp or get to a brand back on track, but at the end it has an impact on that as well. And so company and people first. As you got the chance to meet quite a few of our basic guys, as we call them, most of the company is made by people who's been working since day one. So there are people who have been working for 30 plus years, and there are people maybe been working for 5, 6, but from the beginning. And it's not always possible, but to make sure that the environment is a nice environment to create that kind of company culture. To us, it is really important. Yeah.
Okay. One question which is quite important when we look at the BasicNet history is the capability of BasicNet of identifying great brands who've been a bit mismanaged, potentially sometimes a bit damaged, but were you able to take them, go back to the roots, and then expand them again? So could you maybe, starting with Kappa, could you tell us how you've been able to go back to what was the roots of Kappa and at the same time gradually expand it beyond sportswear? And then we'll talk also about K-Way.
With regards to Kappa, for sure there is a relaunch part from a, let's say, branding and marketing standpoint. But I think that at the time our father started, the biggest innovation was from a business model point of view. So he acquired Kappa in 1994 with the idea to changing the business model, the idea of changing the business model and moving to an hybrid licensing model that there wasn't on the market at the time, where he was going to be doing the design, the industrialization, and the sourcing, and giving the license to distributors that instead of having 30% margin, we're going to have 50% margin, taking away from him the burden of the financial part, so financing and working capital and all of that. That was what made the company bankrupt. So the brand at the time didn't have huge issues, but the issue was financial, and they went bankrupt because they didn't have money to work capital, working capital. So he said, you know what? I'm going to ask the distributors to put the working capital, pay the factories directly, and do business and pay a royalty to me. That model started off really, really well because the distributors had the ability to put the working capital, especially because you divided working capital in 20, 30 different companies, so it was much easier. And he could focus on the design and let's say the industrialization part, giving the distributors great margin. So I would say Kappa was that mostly. But then also within our group, brands go up and down because we have, of course, skills to rebrand and to reposition brands, but we don't get it right 100%. So also Kappa went after that into some branding challenges. The brand went up and down, and we try and work our way around and fix some of the mistakes that sometimes, of course, we do.
And on K-Way, then how have you been able to take K-Way, which of course is an iconic brand in France and in Italy, but how have you been able to transform it into a more premium and gradually globally recognized brand while maintaining what we feel is this kind of very democratic and universal DNA? So it's a brand with a lot of paradox. And in fact, all those paradoxes almost work together. So how do you maintain this kind of balance?
I don't think there is a paradox. I think the idea is to keep the K-Way, the jacket, the original jacket, as competitive as possible from a price point of view, given the amount of technology that is inside, and then develop the brand around it.
I mean, yeah, we again, it's a question we got asked quite often. I think, as we said, there's not a recipe. So I think it's a mix of a combination. First of all, the asset was, before we acquired the K-Way, was already a strong brand without revenue, without all what you see today. But really, I think it's a combination of business model, people, and our soft skills. So we are looking to do the same into other brands. There's not a perfect recipe, and there are a lot of really small details which you need to take into account in every decision. And so the result of K-Way, it's really extraordinary one, but not easy to put. Maybe it's too early to make a case study of it. We will make it maybe together in 5 years' time.
Yeah. And one thing that is quite striking with K-Way is this very fine balance between both the heritage and retro style of the brand, and at the same time the fact that the brand is very contemporary and very modern. How do you explain this kind of almost magic sauce in the brand, which is both retro and very contemporary at the same time?
I think the retro part is just a memory, because the product is not retro. I don't think the product looks retro or is retro. We very rarely do a few pieces that are a little bit retro. Majority of what we do is modern. What is retro is the feeling that people get from the brand, and we like that. We like people that we did the museum exhibition that we created in the last days is to keep that feeling, keep those memories alive, but the product has to be contemporary. If you are a vintage brand, vintage brands come and go, and the vintage trend is very volatile. We need to be contemporary, technological, functional, for the brand to be really a brand for everyone. Otherwise, you are a brand for nostalgic people that want to look vintage for a few months or seasons, but then they will move on to something else.
When you look at the different brands you have in your portfolio, what are then the key lessons you learn in terms of branding and brand evolution that you try to apply to the different brands?
I mean, I think we have one. It's a lesson we learned on our skin. And you need to be in the position not to do those mistakes. So it is really, we are a very long-term. We have a very long-term mindset, but somehow in the last 20 years, because of necessity, we maybe took a short-term decision for necessity, for a growth result, which maybe weren't the best decision for the long-term brand. And if you take a short-term decision because of short-term objectives, you may regret that. In some cases, we did it for other brands, and it is very expensive to recover that part.
As we say at Permira, usually the short-term quick wins on the P&L can then have a massive damaging effect on the longer-term brand vision.
Unbelievable.
Almost not recoverable in some cases. If you are in a good momentum, there are certain decisions which have and at the same time you can make very good decisions which can change your life in 6 months, but at the same time you can really, make damages in short term on a brand with a 100-year history. So really, really delicate.
Moving away from the revitalization phase of the different brands you had in your portfolio, and if we look more at that, how you think about managing growth and global expansion, and if we pick, for instance, K-Way, what was your approach, and then what would be our approach together in terms of managing the brand gradually outside of Italy and France, and how have you been tactically testing and planting the seeds in the different new geos?
Well, I think we were always very organic in the process. We didn't want to force. As you know, we are very careful and very, we take risks indeed because we are entrepreneurs, and being entrepreneurs is about taking risk, but without the obsession of growth. For us, the health of the brand is more important than the growth. We went through the process of wanting to grow at every cost, and at the end it doesn't pay off. So Italy and France were organic. If you look at the 15-year history of the brand within the group, it was a very organic growth. There was never peaks of doubling the business in a year, but never a year going down. So it was always organic. We didn't want to push too far. Italy started, then Italy picked up, and seeds in the other countries started to grow. And we see the numbers today, and it's still happening and growing, in a very good way outside of these two countries. So it's a mix of retail, wholesale, online, marketing. It's a very complex cocktail that there's no recipe for. It's a lot is daily decisions, tens and tens of daily decisions that all have to go in the same direction, hoping you make the majority of the decisions right, and the brand continues to develop as a brand more than a business. We always thought that the numbers were a consequence of the strategic decisions that we took. So we used to do budgets just to make sure that the costs were in line and we could get to the next year. The business then did his own path.
Okay. And how have you been transitioning the group mindset, or at least add within the group another mindset, which was a lot of the brands are usually run through licensing model, and K-Way was basically the first brand being run as a full proper brand with own inventory, own logistics, own stores, own e-com. So was it like an easy step change within the group to?
No, it was not neither easy nor difficult. I think again it was as most of the things we've done, that if you look back, you figure out that there were massive changes. We never did any change from one day to another. It was really a smooth process. And again, going back to the recipe and to the business plan, we knew that with K-Way that was was needed and was going to happen because of the market was changing. The brand we had in hand was different from the other brands. So as for every other aspect in our company, we really are the flexibility and in terms of mindset and business model, keeping in mind that we are very consistent in what we believe has to stay there. For all the rest, we really try to take opportunities, and we are in the market. We are always with partners, clients, wholesaler, retailers, and we understood 6 years ago that K-Way couldn't be managed because of a certain aspect of the brand in the same way. So, one step at a time, we really make this big change. That, as you say, it is big, but during the process wasn't easy, but wasn't big or difficult. It was a very smooth one.
Okay, clear. And how would you say also the consumer changing behavior around sustainability and innovation also make you, both at Kappa, Superga, but also at K-Way, adjust the course of action, but also the product range? All these ESG consideration gradually shape or reshape gradually the brands?
I think that each brand has to have its own answer to this topic. As a group, we believe that it shouldn't be a marketing tool. So we believe it should be something we do and we take forward because it's right, and we have to do it, and we have to apply every possible rule and be ahead of the rules if it's possible. But not make it a marketing tool, because we strongly believe at a certain point we will be so regulated that everybody will have to reach a very high level, and at that point it won't be differentiating anymore. With what regards, our most important message is durability. We strongly believe that doing products of great quality that last a lot, as long as possible, we can achieve the maximum level of sustainability. I think that if you open your grandfather's wardrobe, you can find a K-Way. Maybe, yes. So that K-Way for sure was produced and had an impact. Okay? Probably not the lowest possible impact on the environment, but if you divide that impact 50 by 50 years of usage of the jacket or whatever it is, that impact goes to a very low number. So for us, it's extremely important that our products last and last forever.
If we talk a bit about the partnership that we are now having together between BasicNet and Permira, what made Permira for you the right partner for K-Way? We had long discussion, almost 3 years of discussion, but what in the end made you think, okay, this is the right partner, and might take time to go there, but we will get there with them?
As always, it's a matter of people and branding. From day one, we were very transparent with you guys as well. We really believed that we had in front somebody who was believing in K-Way as we were doing, and I think that was most important part. It is a partnership. The conversation we had from day one was about what we are speaking today: branding, geographic expansion, product expansion. So really, of course, then we had to spend quite a bit of time on numbers, but really that was after. So when we really decided, okay, let's go. Before that, it was really about branding, strategy, understanding, and that made us very comfortable about the decision of Permira.
We had few conversations with other players in the years, and the one with you guys was the most pleasant business conversation we ever had on our business, because you you really are experts in the consumer space, and for us, it was very important to understand that there was in front of us people that understand the rules of the game. To grow in the future is something that can happen and has to happen in our industry, but not everybody has a sensibility and understanding of the dynamics of the industry to get that, because in many industries that doesn't ever happen. It's just not a mechanics that makes sense. In our industry, selling less is functional to selling more tomorrow, in some cases. So having the comfort that the people you are partnering with understand that is extremely important, especially when you do you have a minority partner with important role. That is a very important part.
What are your best and worst memories of the 3-year-long discussions we had?
Well, I mean, it was always very constructive. I think the first year, the first block of conversation was very positive. Achieving a very important objective and a very good deal. But as we always said to each other, we never needed it to survive. It was always very good to have you as partners, but it wasn't, live or die situation. And then I think the last part that led us to actually signing the deal was very smooth, very positive, and very constructive. So I think if you don't have good memories, you don't do a partnership like the one we did.
Yeah, and as we said in the not bad but tough moments during the negotiation where there was the possibility not to do it, because until you sign, that's always an option. We always really consider the whole journey, the 3 years, as a very, very valuable journey for the two of us. We never been even close to this kind of deals with all what is included with the deal. So from the very first conversation to the due diligence. So no matter what was going to be, thankfully we are talking about the deal which is at this point done, but no matter what was going to be a very important experience for us, a very positive and constructive. It was really a very
fair
game with a new game for us too. So very valuable lesson, the whole process.
Looking ahead, what will be for you the definition of success for K-Way in 5 or 10 years from now? Putting aside the numbers, like what you think K-Way should stand for in 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think
20 years.
I think I would love the brand to be what it is in Italy and France, in another 5 or 6 countries in the world, meaning global. At the end, I think that if we manage to get the people outside of Italy and France to have the same perception of the brand, we would have a success. And the consequence would be good numbers, most likely.
And will you consider, given the engine you built with BasicNet, will you consider doing further projects around either the evolution of Kappa, Superga, Sebago, similarly to what you did with K-Way now? Are you looking for other iconic heritage brands that you can revive? Or do you think about the future beyond K-Way?
We are doing both. On one side, as we said, first paper we signed, our goal is for sure keep K-Way as it is, but in other markets. And on the other side, be the best partner we can be to you guys. So we're really working to make it happen. But also because we want this to be the first of maybe many. This one goes properly. And even if it doesn't, we really look to make it happen in other brands. And thanks to this operation, we will look into other acquisition, because K-Way will see us less involved personally, much less involved, and we will have some time to dedicate on the brands we have in portfolio right now, which need our attention. And for sure there will be, we hope there will be some opportunities down the road to brands we have in our portfolio.
Quick rapid fire questions. Any favorite moment you had from one of your brands' history? Like when you think about the different brands, is there one thing that you say, okay, this is the defining moment of K-Way, or this is the defining moment of Kappa?
We see in the market there are moments for brands which you see, okay, an ambassador, a celebrity used K-Way, and from that moment on. But again, to go back to what we said before, if you look at the numbers, there wasn't a moment where we actually doubled the business. There was a journey, very, very, very consistent, of growing the business without and that happened for all our brands. There wasn't a moment where we really couldn't manage the growth because something happened. So there were important moments for us, maybe with Kappa when we were sponsor of Juventus because of our attachment to the team and we were young kids. Important for us. There are many, but for the brand that really changed the dimension, the perception for the brand, I don't think there was a moment.
If there was a moment, that moment would have been a moment of, triple the business in a year and a half. That is something that happens very often in our industry. Especially in the last 10 years, we've seen that happen very often. Companies start from nothing and become hundreds of millions in 3-4 years. But they're not there anymore. So many of them are not there anymore now. So I think it's the nature of our brands and the nature of the way we run the brands takes us to growth and to organic growth. And I think it's the reason why it works for us, for sure.
The moment was when it was invented. I mean, the iconic product. I mean, if there was a moment, it was when Mr. Duhamel had the idea. I mean, I don't think there was a second moment that important, since he really invented a product that today is in a dictionary.
The defining moment is when we get our hands on iconic brands. Because if you look at, forget the time from the moment we bought to now. And fortunately, it's a steady, stable growth. Take the length of the life of the business. It started, went well, then it went down, and the real inflection moment is when it came into BasicNet. So that for us, so to me, the best moment for us. I wasn't there when we bought K-Way, when we were not working, but when we bought Sebago, for me, it was a very exciting moment. Because I genuinely had a feeling that we had found Picasso in a Marché aux Puces in Paris. Because we really had the feeling that the brand was perfect for us, was an amazing brand, and we had the chance to put our hands on it. So, and I'm sure our father has the same feeling about the day he bought Kappa or Superga and K-Way. So I think that is the moment. It gives us that moment gives us the possibility to get to work, because at the end what we have fun and what we like is to work on the brands and think about the brands and restructure the brands, and that is the key moment. After, it's a long list of very good moments. You open the first store, it's a very good moment. You get a very important collaboration done, very good moment. At the moment you get yes, let's go, or you get the first order from Comme des Garçons to do the collaboration, and they tell you we want to do it forever. Amazing moment. Without, we would probably be the same. It's a lot of good moments that all together get to where we are. But the reality is that, probably the best moment is the day you buy the brand.
True.
Well, thank you very much for your time today and for the very open questions and answers. It was great to hear about the story of BasicNet, how you've been able to revive and revitalize a lot of iconic brands, and we are very excited to partner with you on K-Way, and we feel that there's a lot of opportunities we can do together on this brand. So thanks a lot for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. To hear more about Candid Conversation, visit our website www.permira.com and feel free to subscribe to this Candid Conversation chat.